Guys, welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. This is going to be a great episode with the GoHunt.com insider winner. Richard Blazer won the Nahanni Butte Outfitters Dall Sheep Hunt giveaway with GoHunt.com. And this is going to be a great interview of how his hunt unfolded, and from the beginning to end, from drawing the tag. And at the beginning of this podcast episode, you're going to hear the recording of GoHunt.com President Lorenzo Sartini and his staff calling Richard and telling him that he had won the hunt. So it's pretty cool, and it's awesome that GoHunt.com has these great giveaways. I want to remind you guys that the October giveaway with the GoHunt.com Insider for all Insider members is a Coos deer hunt with Colburn and Scott Outfitters. That's Dar Colburn and myself. And Lorenzo has purchased 3 spots on the hunt, 1 for himself and 2 spots for Insider members. And the dates are going to be right during the rut in January in Sonora, Mexico. We will be leaving on January 7th. We will try and hunt that afternoon if we can when we get to the ranch, but then we'll hunt 7 full days from the 8th to the 14th. GoHunt.com is also including a $1,000 travel voucher. So this is a $6,500 value for 2 insiders at GoHunt.com. So if you're not an Insider member, you're not in the drawing. So you need to join Insider prior to the end of October. You need to go on GoHunt.com to see all the details of the giveaway. But they're basically giving away 2 slots to come hunt. It's a $5,500 value plus a $1,000 travel voucher, so $6,500 per person. And all you have to do is be an insider member. So if you're not, hit the blue Join Now button when you go to GoHunt.com/insider. Hit the blue Join Now button, and you will receive a $50 KUIU gift card when you sign up as well. So you'll be entered into the drawing, and hopefully you guys will, one of you guys out there listening, some of the J. Scott Outdoors podcast listeners will win this hunt. And it's awesome to get to enjoy Sonora, Mexico. Beautiful weather usually down there when a lot of parts of the country are really cold. It's just a great hunt. The deer are rutting, and we've been able to get some great bucks over the years. So we're looking forward to that. Guys, this is going to be a great episode. I want to thank GoHunt.com Insider for their sponsorship of this podcast. You know, they stepped up very, very early on in the beginning of this podcast. Lorenzo and his team stepped up to sponsor this podcast. And back when basically there was only a couple hundred people listening, and now there's thousands upon thousands. And with that, I want to thank you guys, my listeners. This podcast wouldn't be like it is without you. And I appreciate all the feedback from you guys. If you'd like to send me comments about the episodes or about your hunts, get a lot of people sending me photos of successful hunts and such. You can reach me at jscottoutdoors@gmail.com. You can follow a lot of the adventures of Dar and I's on Instagram at jscottoutdoors, at Dar Colburn. That's DARR Colburn. On Instagram. Of course, you know, the Facebook, J. Scott Outdoors, the website, jscottoutdoors.com. And for those of you that don't know, we have a YouTube channel, J. Scott Outdoors YouTube, and I believe we have a couple thousand subscribers there and have close to 2 million views. It's got all kinds of hunts, all kinds of how-to videos and such. So guys, thanks for all your support. Let's get right to the episode, and hope you enjoy it. Guys, I got one more thing to add. Deadeye Outfitters is doing their annual breast cancer awareness design again. They're donating 10% of all proceeds from those men's and women's t-shirts to breast cancer research. The men's and women's t-shirts are currently available on their website at deadeyeoutfitters.com. Be sure to use the promo code JScott to save 10% on all your purchases. Pick up some Deadeye Outfitters and wear your obsession. Guys, go check out their website. They've got some awesome stuff, and I want to thank them for supporting breast cancer awareness and breast cancer research by donating 10%. And so you guys do your part also to support breast cancer awareness.
Not enough left. Big sheep. Let's do this. Let's find a winner. Got the whole list here. All I have to do is shuffle 3 times. Shuffle once, shuffle twice. Here it is. There's our guy. Call number 1.
Hello.
Hi, is Richard available?
This is Richard.
Hi, Richard. This is Lorenzo with GoHunt.com. Do you know why I'm calling you today?
I can only hope.
What are you hoping for?
I'm hoping for a Dall Sheep Hunt.
Looks like you're going to Nahanni Butte Outfitters on a Dall Sheep Hunt.
Are you kidding me?
Not kidding you at all, buddy.
Can you put off with the work and family? You would be leaving in literally 30 days.
I am there, man. Oh, freaking way.
Welcome to the J. Scott Outdoors podcast. Today we've got a really cool episode. So about a month ago, or maybe a little more, I was sitting waiting for GoHunt.com to call me on the phone, letting me know that I had won a Dall Sheep Hunt with Nahanni Butte Outfitters. And so I was listening and my phone didn't ring. But the guy that I've got on the line, Richard Baser from Eugene, Oregon, his phone rang and he won the GoHunt.com Insider Hunt giveaway. It's a $22,500 value and he won it. Richard, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Jay. Thank you.
You know, I was excited to know that a hunter that had already shot a ram, and this was going to be your second ram, and you won the hunt, and I was excited to hear about it. I can't wait to hear how all the details went of the hunt. The first thing I'm going to ask you is, what was it like listening and hoping that you had a chance to win because all Go Hunt Insider members had a chance? What was it like when your phone actually rang?
That was pretty crazy. I was actually on my way out to my job, and obviously I knew it was July 1st. I knew that's when they were going to be calling someone, and I looked down at the clock, and it was a little bit after 9, and I thought, well, it was a neat thought to think that, a guy had a chance at winning something like that. And I hadn't gotten a call, so I thought it was already, they'd already gotten a hold of the winner. And then it wasn't a couple minutes later, my phone started to ring, and I looked down, and it was a Las Vegas number. And and I thought, man, would they be based out of Las Vegas? I actually never actually knew that. And so it rang a couple times, and I thought, I better pull over and take this call. So I did, and I said hello, and they asked if Richard was there, and I said, yeah, this is Richard, and said, hey, this is Lorenzo from GoHunt.com. Any reason why we might be calling you today? And I was like, I sure hope I know the reason you're calling today. And they asked, well, what might that be? And I said, well, I'm hoping you're telling me I'm going on a Dall Sheep Hunt. And Lorenzo says, hey, guess what? You're going with the Nahanni Butte Outfitters on a Dall Sheep Hunt. And I couldn't believe it. I absolutely could not believe it. I mean, what's the chances of that, And I was at a loss for words. I probably didn't have a lot of intelligent things to say during the conversation, but I was just excited. I mean, what an opportunity. And, you hear about drawings and stuff all the time, and especially big stuff like this, and you never think that you'd actually be the one lucky enough to get that opportunity. And I was. So, wow.
That's incredible. I can't wait to hear how the hunt went and how the adventure went. I know you didn't have a long time to prepare. I guess one of the first questions I would ask you is, how long had you been a Go Hunt Insider member?
About 2 weeks.
Oh,
yeah,
that's incredible.
I had just signed up with them because I had wanted to do a out-of-state hunt this year, and actually I thought I did the research and ended up not getting the hunt. Thought I did enough research to get to go, and when I didn't get it, I thought, shoot, maybe I need some more tools, you know. And I seen Go Hunt and looked at what they offer and what they do, and so I thought, and then I seen they were giving away this Dall Sheep Hunt on top of that. So I thought, gosh, I've been wanting to do something like that anyways. It's a good opportunity to get my name in the hat for that Dall Sheep Hunt. Who knows, you know? And a couple of days before I got the call, I had just gotten my hat and some decals and stuff in the mail from them, and saying congratulations and thank you for joining, and you know, all that. And I'll be darned if a couple of days later I didn't get the call.
That's pretty incredible. Have you had a chance to dive into the Go Hunt Insider and look through some of the states that you apply for, and have you been able to dive into the Insider?
I have not even gotten to do a whole lot on that. I've browsed through some quickly, but honestly, the last 30 days have been crazy, just focusing on this hunt and trying to get in shape and with work and on top of that. And I lost the first week of preparation due to we had already had a vacation scheduled, so I was in Yellowstone for the first week and got a little bit of hiking in there. But as soon as we got back to Oregon, it was just blow and go, trying to get in shape and get everything ready. And so I haven't gotten a lot of opportunity yet to get on there, but I definitely plan on spending a lot of time and learning that site inside out.
And so July 1st is when you found out that you had won the hunt. And when were the hunt dates scheduled for? When did you have to report for duty?
August 2nd, I was flying out.
So in other words, you had 30 days to prepare for a Dall sheep hunt. What kind of shape were you in when you found out you won the tag, and how much did you actually do to get prepared for the hunt?
Well, unfortunately for me, I was probably at about my heaviest weight. I wasn't in terrible shape, but definitely had a lot of conditioning to do. So that being said, I'm about 12 and a half miles from work. I ride my bike to and from, but that just wasn't cutting it. You know, it's nothing substitutes for putting your boots on and hiking and getting those muscles going, and throw on a pack, get some weight on there, and start preparing that way, because the bike is good for cardio and so forth, but it isn't going to substitute. So every night I started hiking after work. I'd get off work and I'd go down to we have a mountain called Mount Pisgah, and it's a great hike. It's about 3.5 miles round trip up to the summit and back, and then there's other routes you can take. And so I would do anywhere from 2 summits a night to more. So I was getting in most nights 6 to probably on most parts 6 miles a night, and then some nights I do 7 to 10. And I was doing that pretty much every night. I would take I think I had scheduled on Tuesdays, I would do 1 summit just to give my body a little bit of a break, and then I'd take I think I took 1 day off on the weekend, just to allow my body to heal a little bit and then get back to it. I know in 2 weeks I put in about 85 miles of hiking to try to get my tail in shape.
You know, that mountain sounds familiar. If I'm correct, isn't that the same mountain that Cameron Haynes pounds and runs every week?
It is, yeah.
Do you ever see him out on the trail?
You know, I personally have not. I know he's there all the time. I've actually been pretty surprised that we haven't passed by each other, but no, I have not. But yes, he's there all the time, and that guy's a machine.
Yeah, he is a machine. So you're preparing for the hunt, and what about gear as far as? Well, let's skip ahead. We'll come back to all that. I want to start from. Okay, it's the day before you're supposed to meet on August 2nd. Tell me where you fly into.
and then walk me through from the time you fly in there and the hunt and how everything went down and just your different experiences there.
Okay, so the morning of August 2nd, I took off from Portland, from the Portland airport. The wife sent me off there, and from there I had to fly through Seattle up to Edmonton. And then Edmonton, I picked up all my bags, and we stayed the night in Edmonton. And the next morning, you get up at Edmonton, get everything checked back into the airport, and then from there you fly from Edmonton to Yellowknife out to Fort Simpson, and that's where you meet up with the guides. That being said, I had kind of a nice surprise in Edmonton. I was checking in that morning, and I had some gentlemen in front of me, and they were pretty much checked in. They turned around, and one of them I thought looked like a pretty familiar face. And he asked me, he's seen my gun case and stuff, and he says, "Hey, where you headed hunting?" And I said, "I'm headed up to Nahanni Butte." He says, "Oh, no kidding." He says, "We are too." And he says, "I'm Jason Hairston," and introduced himself. And I was like, "You've got to be kidding me." I said, "I thought that was you." So obviously Jason is the owner and founder of KUIU. And very gracious guys. I mean, they were really nice. Everybody introduced themselves, and we talked a little bit, and that was a pleasant surprise. And then to find out they were going to the same place. So they headed down to their gates. I went and checked my stuff in, and went down to the gate, chatted with them a little bit there, and then from there we flew out to Yellowknife. Yellowknife, we ended up having about a 4.5 hour layover there. So again, we just got to sit and chat, and it was really great. We talked about all kinds of stuff. It was very interesting listening to them and learning more and more about KUIU. And in all honesty, this is the first time I just so happened to buy some of the KUIU gear before I even went on this hunt, because I wanted to try something that was lightweight and hopefully gonna do what I needed to do on this hunt. So from there, we got to Yellowknife. I'm sorry, Fort Simpson. And we met up with a couple of our guides that were loading us up into a couple of pickups. And from there, we headed out to, it's about a 2.5 hour drive out to Nahanni Butte. When you get there, it's kind of funny. You come up to a river, and they park the trucks and everything out there on the other side of the river, and you load everything into these boats. And you take the boats across the river, and then there's another pickup over there, and you load everything up, and then you drive on into the village and to the lodge, where you're greeted by everybody. I mean, all the guides and everybody comes out. They're just so welcoming. I'll tell you, Nahanni Butte Outfitters are second to none. What a great group of people. Like I said, open arms. Everybody's super friendly, super helpful. What do you need? What can we do? They're packing your stuff. I mean, for a guy like me, I'm not used to people packing my stuff, and I'm trying to get my stuff, and they're like, no, we got that, and it was great.
Richard, so what is the temperature there at base camp, and what are conditions, and what's the projected forecast? Kind of what are you preparing for?
Actually, that's a good question. I was really curious what the weather was going to end up being like. I tried to watch the weather best I could and everything, but honestly, when I got there, it was warm, nice. I didn't see anything projected that we were going to get a lot of rain or anything like that. I mean, I know they get some storms roll through here and there, but for the most part, everything in the future looked pretty good. The mosquitoes are a little thick down there at base camp, so you got to deal with that. But it was beautiful, absolutely beautiful. You couldn't ask for any better weather.
So like 60s, 70s, or was it?
That evening, I'd say it was definitely, you're probably in the 70s.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
And then were you guys going to take off that night or head out the next morning?
Yeah, actually Jim Lancaster, the owner of Nahanni Butte, he come out and let me know that they were going to get me out that night, and that they'd so he got me paired up with my guide, Don Burt, and Don was awesome. He came in, we went through my pack, kind of went through my gear, picked out a couple things I probably didn't need, and then kind of moved some stuff around.
What was the stuff that you didn't need?
Well, in this particular case, let's see, there was I got a habit of packing stuff I probably don't need all the time, but there was some the trekking poles. He had a set. He said he'll just take the one set. I could leave my set. We're just doing things to lighten it up a little bit. But for the most part, I mean, I went off of Jim's list that he offers out or that he sends out with his package, and for the most part, that's what I had. I got rid of a couple other pieces of clothing because with the weather being as good as it was going to be, I didn't really feel I needed to tote those around. But that was really about it. We took some stuff out of my pack that because when they take you out, you go out on a helicopter, and that in itself is worth the whole trip just to ride in that helicopter. But so some of the stuff we could put in a box on the helicopter, we didn't have to have it in our pack, and because when we load up the helicopter, one of the back seats are where we put our packs, and you're just trying to consolidate them so they can fit in there. But we went through all the gear, did that, and then I changed into my hunting clothing. Went in, they had a heck of a spread for dinner. I'll tell you what, Jim's wife, Nadine, puts on a heck of a spread. You don't want to spend a lot of time in camp if you want to stay in shape because you will get fat there. But anyways, I ate dinner, and then I jumped in a little Ranger side-by-side with one of the guides and Jim's son. We went down and double-checked my rifle, made sure it was still on, and it was good to go. Come back, and we loaded up in the helicopter, and we took off. So,
how far was it from base camp to where you were dropped off in either miles or in time?
Time-wise, it was about 50 minutes. Pretty good jaunt out there. I'm not sure exactly how far it was, but yeah, in time-wise, I'd say it's about 50 minutes.
And just incredible big mountains and such, or what was the terrain like?
Absolutely beautiful. We flew over there was a park there. We flew over that, and then got into the mountains. And then once we got into the mountains, Greg, the pilot, he kind of took us down through the canyons, and what a bunch of views. I took video and pictures, and I still didn't get enough of everything, I'm sure, but absolutely beautiful. I think the McKenzie Mountains are in the 6,000 to 8,000 foot range. And they were telling me that I guess they're extremely old mountains, and they're beautiful. A lot of grays and greens and a lot of moss, the caribou moss and stuff up there. And then you get in the areas where there are the trees as well. I think they're spruce and stuff like that. But a lot of open country too. But yes, definitely steep. I was looking at that thinking, oh my gosh, some of that's going to be a lot of work.
And so when you guys started circling where you were going to land, tell me about the experience of getting off the chopper at landing, and then what did you do?
So so we circled the area that we were going to land. There was kind of three ridges that came together, and we went out on the end of one of those ridges, and because we had actually seen a ewe and a lamb and a ram up on one of the ridges on the way in. And so we wanted to get out away from them because those guys, once they know you're in the country, they don't want to stick around. They're pretty wild sheep. So we ended up out on this end of the ridge. It was kind of sloped, which didn't make for the best place to set up your tent, but we made it happen. But yeah, we landed. We got everything unloaded, and then you just kind of lay over your gear while the helicopter takes off so that nothing blows away or blows into the propellers. There's definitely a big safety factor there, which they took us through a safety walkthrough before we took off as well, just to make sure everybody knows how to approach and leave the helicopter. So once he took off, it was so crazy. He took off, you got all this noise. He takes off, you see him leave, and then pretty soon you can't hear anything, and then you realize you're out in the middle of the Northwest Territories, out in the middle of nowhere. It was just quiet, beautiful. It was just so surreal.
What were the temperatures? What time was it when you landed, and what was the weather conditions and temperatures when you landed?
I would say it was I think we got out there around 8 or 9 p.m., I think. And it's crazy because, of course, we all hear about how light it stays up there, and it really does. I remember at like 10:30 at night, it's like all that happened was the sun went down over the mountain. I mean, it's still that bright. Temperature wise, it was still in the I'd say 70s at that point. It was just beautiful. I mean, you couldn't ask for any better weather.
And you're up above timberline, and you're kind of camped on a ridge. And what was the plan then, to try and get some sleep? And I'm sure you didn't sleep at all.
Yeah, it took us a bit to get camp set up. Like I said, the tent was sloped pretty good downhill, so we had cut some spruce trees and cut some stuff trying to build up the end of the tent, so to speak, and didn't really work out very well. But so we were working on that, kind of got food dropped off and everything down below us a little bit away from the tent. And then at that point, Don actually had me grab his spot and scope and kind of sneak around and just kind of glass a little bit to see if we could see that ram from where we were, and just kind of see what he was doing, because we wanted to hope we didn't spook him out of there, And so I went over and did that for a bit, and then he worked on camp, and then after a bit he come over there and he had me go back and kind of finish setting my stuff up, and then he watched it for a while, and he came back and we kind of got a game plan, what we would do, and yeah, kind of went off to bed. But yeah, you're right. I mean, I tossed and turned, and all I did was think about it all night long, and I don't think I hardly slept at all. It was, it's so crazy to think that 2 days ago I was down here in the States and just getting ready for this, but then all of a sudden I'm here. I'm out in the middle of nowhere getting ready to have an opportunity of a lifetime.
What gun did you take with you, Richard?
I took a .257 Weatherby.
I love that. I shoot that gun. I really like it. What bullet did you shoot?
Actually, I shot the 110 grain Nosler AccuBond.
Nice.
Yeah, it does a great job.
So what time were you guys scheduled to wake up the next morning, and what was the plan, and how did you guys kind of go about your first day?
Well, the thing is, when you fly in anywhere, you have to wait 12 hours before you can pursue any animals anyways up there. And so we were giving ourselves time for that. We got up, we had breakfast, oatmeal, sit there. And another thing is also that Dawn clued me in on, to be sure that anytime you got out of the tent, you took your time and you get out with your binoculars and you clear everything. Because you never know where sheep might come from, and not only sheep, but grizzly bears and so forth. So you really want to keep a good eye out and make sure we're not, I mean, we're as best we could. We tried to hide everything, but unfortunately, we're kind of out in the open still. So we really had to take caution there with that. So we got up in the morning. We cleared everything that we could see to make sure that we weren't spooking anything off or didn't have anything in the area that we didn't want there.
Boy, if you got to take a leak, that could be challenging.
Yeah, I yourself some time for sure. So we got up, had breakfast. Kind of went around, glassed a little bit what we could up where we had seen the ram the day before. Couldn't find him. So we grabbed our gear and started kind of working our way up the ridge slowly. And again, keeping our eye out. Because, man, those rams and those sheep can move so much in even a 12-hour period that you just don't know. I mean, he might be right next to your tent the next morning. You never know. Or he might be out of the country. So we worked our way up the ridge, kept glassing, got up towards the top. We finally spotted the ewe and the lamb, and unfortunately, where she was making it really tough for us to advance much further because their vision is so remarkable, and so we ended up having to spend a lot of time just kind of waiting for her to do her thing. And luckily, her lamb would kind of come up and bug her a little bit, and she'd get up and move around, and sometimes kind of break down over the edge a little bit where she couldn't see us, and we'd be able to make our move. And we were having a heck of a time finding that ram. And we'd probably been looking for a couple of hours, and we finally found him. He had worked his way out on this other flat on a ridge out away from us, and he was bedded out there. And so the combination of keeping an eye on her and making sure she didn't blow out and mess everything up, we were just trying to work our way around the side of the mountain. And some of those mountains, some of it's really easy walking, not too bad, and then some of it's a lot of shale and loose rock and stuff, and we got into a bunch of that. And so you got to be careful you're not kicking that stuff down the mountain and everything else. After a bit, the ram got up and he actually started working kind of towards us. He was still about probably 800 yards away when we seen him at that point. So as he's working towards us, we're kind of pinned on the side of this mountain, and we're, in all reality, we're way out in the open. But you're just laying there flat, not moving, and just kind of looking through your glass. And luckily, the ewe and lamb had finally broke off over the other edge, and we didn't have to deal with her anymore, and we could just focus on the ram. For hours, he was milling around down there. And when we'd get an opportunity, we'd try to move what we could, just trying to get, within range to glass him better and make sure. And he was definitely a shooter. There was no doubt on that. We knew he was a shooter ram. And for there, of course, they got to be 3/4 curl or more. And those guys are so good at aging them and so forth from a distance too. It's amazing. So probably after about 5 hours or so, he finally had worked his way up the ridge and kind of broke off over the other side as well. So we could kind of, best we could, hightail it down to the bottom and try to work up to where he had went. And doing that, we finally got down there, worked up to the ridge where he was, and then I would stay kind of out away from the edge a little bit, and Don would work his way over the edge, kind of peek over and look, come back, and we'd work our way up. Just kind of really easy working our way up towards where we thought he might be. And we were hoping he would go up there and be bedded by the time, we got up there to make it a little better for us. Anyways, on the way up, Don was working his way around a little rock outcropping, and I seen him peeking over and all of a sudden he ducked back down and he stuck his binoculars up there and ranged it and come back around and gave me the signal to rack a shell in. So I did, and I threw my pack off, and we're trying to hike up, and he said, unfortunately, the ram had already pinned him, and he couldn't believe the ram already knew he was there. And he was about 117 yards. And so we were trying to...
Is he looking right at you guys?
Yeah, well, he's looking right at Dawn. I hadn't seen him yet. And looking right at Dawn. And so we kind of get up there as quickly as we can. I'm trying to scan where he's at, where he might be, and all of a sudden he had moved left a little bit, and he's out on this point, and he's standing there broadside, looking right at me. I'm just beautiful, absolutely beautiful, sun shining on him. I mean, I'd love to have been able to take a picture, but there wasn't time. So I have to step up a couple more times, and I am breathing hard. I mean, we're trying to get up there quickly, and I pull up, and I cannot get my crosshairs to hold still. And you've got to be kidding me. I'm standing there. I don't have a good rest. I don't have any rest. He's only like 100 yards. And and one of the last things Jim Lancaster told me when I left camp is he said, if you wound one, that's the one you chase the rest of the time. And I was like, I do not want to make a bad shot on this guy. Because where he was, it was a long ways down. Mm-hmm. And I'm sitting there trying to hold, and I could not hold still. And all of a sudden he's gone. And I was like, oh my gosh, I just totally blew this. Totally blew it.
Well, in your defense, it's very difficult to shoot offhand, and it's certainly difficult in that situation. I think you made a great call.
I mean, looking back, I'm so happy I didn't pull the trigger and make a bad shot. It just wasn't right. So we tried to hightail it up even further to see if we could, maybe went out and stopped somewhere. But, we didn't hardly go very far to see him again. He was already down to the bottom, across the creek, and gone. And Don ranged him at 650 yards already. So those guys don't stick around, I'll tell you.
And so did you just feel your heart drop? Like did you just feel like, you probably felt pretty low, and
my head was hanging.
Yeah.
My head was hanging. We had just worked on this guy for over 6 hours, and and it's tough. You put a lot of work into something like that, and then have it not work out. So we headed back down to the packs and kind of sat down. I took a break, and I looked at Don, and I told him, I said, man, I am so sorry. He says, I can't believe he pinned me that quick. He was just, I think both of us were so frustrated at ourselves even. He couldn't believe he was pinned that quick, and I couldn't believe I couldn't get a shot off. Yeah. So we just chatted a bit, and he said, hey, you know what? It's day one. We got plenty of time. No worries. so it was awesome. We joked around, and we kind of finished out that day doing some more glassing and working our way around, and headed back to camp, and had some good old Mountain House meals, and talked.
Did you see anything else that afternoon?
We didn't see anything else at all. No.
Okay, so you went back and ate dinner and then tried to go to sleep again.
Yeah, so then we put together the game plan for the next day. We were going to go up on the next ridge over, and we were hoping on the backside we might catch something back there. So yeah, again, another great night of sleep. Maybe not so much, but
And you guys are sharing a tent, correct?
Yeah, we were actually.
And you had air mattresses, and what kind of sleeping bag did you have?
I actually have a big Agnes sleeping bag, one that I picked up quite some time ago. And I will tell you, the first night I had a liner and everything I put in it. I took the liner out, and I don't think I slept with my sleeping bag zipped up one single night. That's how beautiful and awesome it was the whole time I was there.
That's awesome. So you wake up the next morning and make a plan?
We did, and we decided we're just gonna go straight down off the mountain from camp and right back up the next face over. I mean, it was definitely gonna be a lot more work, a lot more, a lot steeper and everything, but it was a lot better than walking all the way around, because we could have walked up the ridge and then up the other ridge, but we wanted to get up there. So we got down to the bottom. And I'll tell you, that country is full of water. There's water everywhere. And so we got down to the bottom. There's a nice creek, loaded up on water, hydrated and everything, and then started climbing that next mountain and got up to the top. And you know what? Actually, I apologize. I did forget the day before you asked me if we'd seen another one. Actually, we did. I'd forgotten about him. We seen just a young 3-year-old ram.
Okay.
I forgot about that. So. And that being said, the reason I remember that is because going up this mountain is where we had seen him, so we were having to keep an eye out for him. But actually, I don't think we seen him that day, if I remember correctly. So we got up to the top and just doing a bunch of glass and working our way down. Again, you're taking it nice and easy. I mean, anytime. I mean, you're glassing every just every few steps. I mean, you just never know where you're going to come across these guys. So we worked our way down the ridge and got to where we could see kind of the backside of the ridge. And it's kind of a big, to me, it reminds me of like a big old meadow, but it's all that caribou moss and everything. And we glassed there for quite a while and off the other side, all the ridges, everything we could see, and we just weren't seeing anything. So at that point, I kind of hung tight there for a little bit, and Don just kind of worked his way around down below a little bit to see what he could find. And so I just kept glassing all the ridges, everything I could see from up there. And after a while, he come back up and he says, I'm just not seeing anything. And so we glassed and this is, we're working into early afternoon now and nothing. So I know he made a satellite phone call into Jim at camp and let him know. They check in every day, every morning, every night, and all that. And that's Jim's, he wants to know what's going on with his guys, make sure everybody's safe and everything's going well. So checked in with him, let him know that we weren't seeing anything. So Jim said to just keep looking and we'll get a game plan together. And so to call him back at like 5 that evening. So we did that. I think we were glassing until our eyes were bleeding. I don't know if I've looked through a lot of glass, but I'll tell you what, you look through a lot of glass up there. We about 5 o'clock, Don made the phone call to Jim, and Jim's like, "You're not seeing nothing, huh?" He's like, "No, I mean, you could see for miles. I mean, we're just glassing all these ridges." He says, "All right." He says, "Well, I'll tell you what, we'll have somebody there in a couple hours. We'll have the chopper there." So we hiked back to camp, loaded everything up, got everything ready, and about 2 hours later, here comes the helicopter. And so I hung out there with the gear. Don jumped in with Greg, and they went flying around trying to find us a new area. He was gone about 20 minutes, and then Greg came back and had dropped Don off at our new camp spot, and we loaded up all of our gear, and then I jumped in with him, and we flew over to our new spot. they had seen a couple of rams out on a ridge point, quite a ways out, and where he was setting us down, we were a good couple miles from there. And so he set us down, same story, you get everything unloaded, lay on it, he takes off, and now you're in a new location. And I'll tell you what, this new location was 1,000 times better than the first one as far as a camp spot goes. So we got everything reset up, and we got a game plan together, and Don told me about, what they'd seen, and he said we were still quite a ways away from there. We had a couple ridges to go up and over to try to get that direction, and we were going to try to get a good early start, because the sun was coming up. It was getting as warm as it was, and we wanted to try to beat the sun on our morning hike because, like I said, we had some pretty big country to go over to get over there, and it was, once that sun gets on you, it beats on you pretty good. So then next morning we get up again, you have breakfast, and get your gear, drop down to the bottom where there's a creek again, load up again on water. I drink a lot of water when I'm hiking. I'm a sweater.
Now, are you filtering the water, or are you just drinking it right out of the creek?
Actually, Dawn had one of those, I think, what do you call those, the Sterilite pens, the ultraviolet. You use those 1 liter big mouth bottles. You fill them up and then you stir it for so long. And I'll tell you what, that was pretty slick. First time I've used that. I've always used filters and everything. That was a nice tool to have and real lightweight. So it actually worked out really well just to do that. So then we took off. We had to hike up this old creek bed and got to the end of it, and then you had to hike up out of the bottom of it. And that was a pretty good jaunt up on the top. Once you got on top, it wasn't too bad. Again, it's a lot more open and everything. And
like, how long did it take you from where you were getting water to go up on top?
Oh, it probably took us an hour.
Okay.
Yeah, probably an hour to get up there. Then we're working our way over the top, and Don was kind of showing me up ahead. You couldn't see everything yet, but he was just kind of telling me the direction that we were probably going to be working towards. And so we're going up over the top, kind of breaking down over the other edge, and Don was out ahead of me just a few, and all of a sudden I seen him just hit the ground. So, of course, I hit the ground. I follow suit. And he looks back at me, and he kind of put a curl beside his head, letting me know that he's seen a ram. And so I kind of snuck up there to him, and those rams through the night had worked their way up that other ridge and probably at least took off a good half to 3/4 of a mile for us, which I was very thankful for. But so we could see this ram up on top of the next ridge over, and he's just kind of, I think he was just standing up there at that time, or he might have been bedded if I remember. I think he was bedded. And so we get up, we're trying to move a little closer, and all of a sudden I looked up there and he's standing looking at us. And so I just kind of gave Don a quick whistle, and down we went again. And he's probably 800 yards from us.
Goodness, and he's got you pegged?
He's got us pegged. And I'm like, oh,
Goodness.
no, you've got to be kidding me. So we just lay there, and, of course, not moving. And, I mean, he's just staring at us for a long time. I don't know, it seemed like hours. But then he just kind of looked around a little bit and kind of dug around and made his bed and laid back down, of course, looking right at us. But he laid back down, so I thought, well, shoot. Luckily he's not too worried about us. He's still keeping an eye on us, And that was one time I was thankful for all the bugs, because you'd be watching him and you could tell the bugs were just bothering him, and he'd duck his head and, shake his head and this and that. And what that kind of, I think, helped us was that it kind of ended up finally taking his mind off of us a little bit. And then he'd just kind of look around, and he'd look our direction now and then. But then I felt pretty good. I thought, okay, we still got a chance with these guys, And looking at him, you could actually see the top of the other ram's horns, just over the edge. So we knew they were both there. And so, finally, after, I don't know, probably 45 minutes or so, or 40 minutes, I don't know, he got up and kind of did a couple circles and walked to our right a little bit off the edge and was looking off there, and then kind of worked his way over and to basically out of sight. So we took advantage of that and started moving around, trying to get down closer. And Don was trying to get me within 300 yards that if he came back out, we could poke him from down there. So we were trying to get to where we thought we might be in range, but either way, we still weren't going to be within even 300 yards. It was a long ways up there. So we decided we better just break off to the bottom and start climbing that next mountain where they were. So we hit the bottom and start kind of working our way up, taking our time, because I didn't want another instance of getting an opportunity and not being able to pull the trigger because I'm winded again, But we just took our time, working our way up there. Got up there about 3/4 of the way or so, and kind of sat down, took a break, and Don kind of went off ahead and just kind of trying to see what he could see, peeking up over the rim and this and that. And pretty soon he gave me a motion to come on up, so I grabbed my stuff and headed up there, and we just started working our way. Now we're kind of working back left along the ridge, kind of going back underneath, because we had gotten down to the kind of downstream of them a little bit, and then we were working back up and trying to get the wind right, and got up on top and to where we hopefully was expecting to maybe see them, and kept working our way up easy and getting up there, and they weren't there. It's like, you've got to be kidding me. So we get up on top, and Don starts belly crawling over to the edge, looking, and we're working our way along, and pretty soon he's over there, and he gives me the signal. He sees him. So I'm trying to belly crawl over there. I've got my pack and everything. I've dropped it off. I've got my camera strapped around my shoulder. I've got my binoculars on, and I'm crawling across the ground, belly crawling with my rifle and everything. I get over there, and he's like, there they are. They're down below us. And they had gotten down, and this other side of the mountain was not nearly as pleasant as the side we had walked up. This other side was nasty. It's what you expect to see them in all the time, I guess, is what I've always pictured. But really rocky, really steep, cliffs, you name it, it was there.
Do they know you're there?
I don't know I think they did suspect something. I don't know if either that or they were just up and moving to go somewhere else for the day, but it sure seemed like maybe they suspected something. They were a little bit nervous, but kind of spread out, looking around a little bit. There was the two rams, and I could see the one, and Don kept talking about the upper one, and I was like, I don't see what you're talking about. And finally I seen him. So I'm trying to get things situated, and I realize I'm laying on my camera. I can't get situated. You got all this stuff just going on 100 miles an hour now. So I grab my camera. I'm trying to get it off over my head, and Don looks over me about the time I've got the camera up, and he looks at me, and I think it looked like I must have been trying to take a picture when really I was just trying to get the darn thing off my shoulder and out of the way. He goes, "What the heck are you doing?" And I'm like, I'm trying to get this camera off. So I get the camera off and get all situated and get a rest on a rock and everything. And I was looking, and I seen the upper one, seen the lower one. And I told him, I said, okay, which one of those do we want? And he's looking, and he says, upper one, definitely take the upper one. I said, all right. So he says 275 yards. I was like, shoot, that's not too bad, So I pull down on him and wait till he's angled. He's facing to my left, angled out a little bit. So I got a quartering away shot, and I put it right on his shoulder and touched it off. And that darn thing didn't even look like he didn't even flinch. I don't know. I was like, I expected to see him go down or do something right there, and he didn't even hardly move. So I jack another one in, and I touch another one off, and then you could tell for sure. And he was starting to. I'd hit him, and both times I asked Don. I said, "Did I hit him?" And he says, "Sure, sounds like it." And we're looking, and so I ended up jacking another one in because we were really wanting to anchor him right there. I did not want him to go down that mountain. And I'll tell you what, they are tough. He was not going down. Finally, after a few shots, he was not staying there, but he was done, and down he went, and I mean, he tumbled, and we lost sight of him. And
oh man,
I was
off the other side.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Oh. And Don told me, he says, "Don't worry." He says, "They're tough. He'll be fine." That's what he was concerned. I thought, oh my gosh, I'm going to find him in pieces down there. So we high-fived, and and I was just the excitement, and I was like, oh my gosh, I just got a Dall sheep. I just finally put one on the ground, And this is day 3. I was like, geez, you know, I mean, I couldn't tell you all the emotions running through my body and me, and just so thankful for that, you know, that opportunity to get to do what I was getting to do there. And Don was just, I think he was as excited as I was. I mean, this guy's been doing this a long time. So we went back, gathered up our gear, and started working our way back down the ridge to where we could figure out how to navigate down there. We found a cut in the rim and kind of worked through that cut and got down there and started working our way down kind of in the direction he had tumbled. And Don was down ahead of me, and pretty soon I heard him. I said, hey, he told me, he says, hey, I see your sheep. I was like, sweet. So he just kind of hung back, and he says, go get your sheep. So I went down there, and we found him. And luckily where he stopped, it had kind of narrowed up a little bit, and he was kind of up against this crevice, this rock there a little bit. And thank goodness, because if he'd have went off of that, he might have went all the way down to the creek. I don't know. It was crazy.
He's a beautiful ram.
Oh, he was, yeah, I was ecstatic.
What, how old was he?
10 and a half, 11 years old.
And what was his longhorn? Do you remember?
You know what? I do not. I ended up not taking any of those measurements. And because I thought when I got him to the officials that, you know, because they do all the measuring and everything, I thought I'd get a copy of that. So I wasn't overly concerned. Well, they didn't give me a copy. And now the thing's at the taxidermist. So I have asked my taxidermist to give me those measurements. So I just haven't gotten them from him yet.
Yeah, he's a beautiful ram for sure. The picture you sent me is just looks like a really cool spot where this picture's taken. And so how long did it take you guys to get him taken care of? And then I guess you had to pack him back to camp, right?
Well, actually, yeah, he was, so that picture and where he ended up, there was this shelf that's probably about, 3 feet wide and maybe 8 feet in width and in length. And we ended up taking care of him right there. We caped him out, got the meat and everything right there on that shelf. And, you know, poor Don, he's sitting there on the edge of that shelf working on it with me and for me. I mean, I didn't get to do a whole lot. I mean, that guy is just, they're so good at what they do, you know, and I trust that he knows what he's doing a heck of a lot better than I do. And I didn't want to mess up my cape anymore, and I already had. So we got him all skinned out, loaded up, and we ended up loading him out in one load between my pack and Don's pack. And we were looking and we were trying to decide if we wanted to go up or if we thought it'd be better to go down. And we glassed down below to see what it kind of looked like. And I'd say this mountain from where I shot from, it was probably about 850 yards down to the bottom. And like I said, it's steep. You could get there real quick if you weren't paying attention. And so we looked down there. It looked like there was a flat enough area that maybe we could set up an LZ and bring in the helicopter. So we decided we were going to go down. Once we started to go down and got committed, we realized we probably should have went up. But it was too late. We had already gone down and we're working our way down. So it took us, it was probably 600 yards. Because that ram had tumbled about 150 to 200 yards down there. It took us to go about 600 yards or a little further, about 3.5 hours to get down there. And there was a couple of close calls that I'll tell you what, you've got to be careful doing that stuff. I had a couple close calls. Don had a couple close calls. Most of the mountain we went down pretty much backwards, and you're holding on to stuff. You're sliding your feet down to a point where you think you got a stable spot, and then you're sliding along this way and that way. And a couple spots we went down, and Don would holler up to me, "Hey, don't come down here. We got to find a different route." He'd come back up. We work our way around, and it was pretty crazy. And I'll tell you what, my feet were on fire. I had a knee that was giving me a bunch of trouble, but we made it down. Got down to the bottom. Thankful for the creek and get some more water. But then we're looking at the area and that we thought was flat. And of course, from up there, it looked flat, but from down there, it was not flat. So then we were concerned if we were really going to be able to set up an LZ or not. Because then if you can't set up an LZ and the helicopter can't land, you throw your packs on and start hiking and get to a spot where you can. But we looked over the area. There was a spot next to the creek, fairly small, but we thought we could set up an LZ there. So we moved some boulders and moved some stuff around, did some fair amount of preparation work to try to make it comfortable enough for Greg to land there. And so then Don made the call out and let him know that where we were and gave him the coordinates. And they let us know that they were going to be a while because they had, I think there was a couple of caribou put on the ground that day and another ram or two also. So Greg was busy that day. And so we just took advantage of it, and we got the cape out, and we worked on fleshing it and cleaning it up, getting it off the skull. And actually I got some great lessons. I learned a lot that day. Don, we worked through, I learned how to cape out an animal properly, so to speak. I've done some, but it's nice to learn from a guy that's been doing it so much. And real patient, taught me a lot. It was actually great. We were there about 4.5 hours before the helicopter came. And the other kicker is when you're doing stuff like that up there, I mean, your head's got to be on a swivel because you keep the guns loaded and things ready because of the grizzlies. And we end up not having any run-ins with the grizzlies, but Don has told me some stories, and it's not uncommon. So it's awesome.
So the helicopter came in and picked you up, and then it must have taken you back to your camp, and you guys packed up your camp?
Yeah, what he did was when he came in, we had everything loaded and ready to go. He landed. He was able to land, thank goodness. We loaded everything in it, and yeah, he picked us up, and we went on around, and he took us back to camp. At camp, he ended up dropping us off. He had another run he had to go do, so that gave us time to get camp packed up anyways. And then we got everything packed up, and he came back, got us, and took us back to Nahanni Butte Lodge.
Wow, what an adventure. That's incredible. And so that's your second sheep. You're halfway to your Grand Slam.
Yeah, you could say that.
That's awesome. You had harvested a California bighorn, correct?
I did. I drew the tag in 2013 here in Oregon, and I got the opportunity on that. So
that's awesome. Have you had a chance to eat any of your Dall sheep meat?
Oh yeah, we had some the first night I got home. Well, actually, we even had some up at camp. They cooked some up one night, but no, we've already had some here at the house, and just like my other ram, I mean, the ram meat is so good, and that Dall sheep, I mean, it's great. People ask, what's it taste like? I think everybody pictures it tastes like, your woolly sheep, but it doesn't. It's right along the lines of the deer and elk, and I mean, it's just awesome.
Well, that's awesome. I'm excited to get to hear your story, and I'm excited that you won the hunt. And my first month of signing up with Go Hunt Insider, they gave away 100 phone scopes. I won a phone scope, and this month they're giving away 10 Kuiu sleeping bags, and the month of July they gave away they gave away a mule deer hunt, antelope and elk hunts, and not only did you win the hunt, but I believe you got a little bit of spending money. It was a full expenses paid trip to go, wasn't it?
For the most part, I definitely paid for the majority of it. Yeah, you're correct. I won the hunt. They also cut me a check for $2,500, which you use towards your airline, your flights and your hotels. And then there's a few little things here and there, that you got to take care of that just is, your $400 to get your sheep out to the government, that type of stuff, But you know what? It's for everything I got, it's amazing. And I would never ever get to do this for this price anywhere else, of course. It was just what an amazing gift to receive, and I thank Go Hunt and Lorenzo and Chris and those guys over there for giving me this opportunity, and Nahanni Butte Outfitters, man, I can't tell you enough about the operation that they run up there. All the guides, I met them all. I got to chat with all of them. Jim and Nadine do a heck of a job there. Nadine puts on a heck of a spread. They got 4 awesome kids that help out with the two older ones help out. Josh is helpful as heck. He's 15. I think he's going to be running that place for long. And yeah, what a great group of people. If anybody's ever interested in doing something like a Dall sheep hunt or any of those other hunts that they put on, caribou, moose, goats, man, you got to check these guys out. I can't think of a better operation, a way to run an operation. They're outstanding.
Well, that's awesome, Richard. It's been awesome getting to talk to you, hear your story, and I want to offer you congratulations again, and look forward to meeting up with you someday down the road somewhere. And just thanks for being on with us and telling us your story.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity to share it, and thank you for everybody that's helped me accomplish this.
Right on, buddy. Sounds good. Well, you take care, and God bless you, okay?
All right, thank you. You too.
All right, buddy.
Thanks for listening to the J. Scott Outdoors Western Big Game Hunting and Fishing Podcast, brought to you by GoHunt.com Insider. Use the promo code JScott and receive a $50 KUIU gift card when signing up for the GoHunt.com Insider. Research faster, hunt more. Go to GoHunt.com/insider and join today.